Part 6. As Frankie slipped into the front passenger seat, Angola touched the dials of the radio and settled on the one that was known to have the strongest radio signal across the mountainous island. He actually said it, bringing once again his connection between the subject of geography and everything else that he did in life. The broadcaster seemed to be at an outside broadcast highlighting a Health Day awareness. He reversed carefully, avoiding the metal poles that held the solar panels, and went carefully and silently down the hibiscus lane into the neighborhood roads. He checked in with her on whether the climate was comfortable, and they settled in for what would be a 90-minute drive to Kingston and then another 30 minutes to her home. So, you are an accountant, I hear, he said. And Frankie realized that this was a conversation opener that would forever define how they would get to know each other, and she was ready for it. I studied accounting, but I'm not going into it immediately. You know, it's a big area. I'm having a look around to see what the possibilities are. So, what about you? Will you be teaching? Will teaching be a career for you? You are so good at it. Thanks. It's something that I enjoy, but I will have family responsibilities. My grandfather was still an important part of the family business, so my father is going to need my help. That's so noble of you. Having been prepped by Alona, Franklin wisely did not bring up his siblings and what they could do for the business. So when you do come back home, what do you do? Usual things, I go to the beach, I hang out with my friends, sports. I love the car sports, and of course, bird bush season. I missed bird bush this year. What about you? This may bore you, but I love fashion shows and supporting our designers and concerts. She left out that she was a socaphile, the group of people who love to dance and follow soca events 2 months out of the year. Really? So, who are your favorite artists? Frankie felt that this was going to be a moment of truth. Any mention of the names of the artists and the game would be up. People either love the soca culture or hated it for cultural, not musical reasons. She decided to take the chance. To be honest, I like soca. I love all the great artists. Machel Montano, Kesteban, Bunji Garlin, Destra. Soca just brings a happiness and a feeling of freedom that no other music can do for me. She waited on his reaction, but he just nodded and said that he was not up to date on the genre. They then avoided all other personal discussions for the rest of the drive and chatted about their mutual connections and how much they loved growing up in Mandeville with day trips to Negril and Treasure Beach. But then Frankie stumbled back into the personal domain. So, how long have your family been in Mandeville? My first family members, he said, came here in the 1950s after the Second World War, where they had served. They were not ready for the end of their global adventure and came here instead of going home to Kano. I can trace my family generations in Kano State. Oh, have you ever been there? Yes, once. We keep in touch with family, but we've been in Jamaica now for 3 generations, so, as is expected, I am Jamaican and not African. What about your family? Frankie was taken off guard. I actually just know that my grandparents are from Mandeville and Kingston. I never thought to ask, didn't seem important. I think they are all Jamaicans, actually. She felt a bit awkward not knowing, but the conversation did not linger there as they had crossed the Rio Cobre and Angola started talking about the importance of the river on the ecosystem down to Hunts Bay. Frankie was fascinated more by his interest in the subject than the subject itself. When they pulled up at her house, she called and Damilola opened the gate and met them at their porte cochere. Hello, sir, she said, standing at his side of the car, and he greeted her warmly, assuring her that the next class would be on schedule. Frankie was standing just behind her sister, waiting to give Angola a warm farewell. Damilola spoke to her sister over her shoulder. I thought that you were spending the week in Mandeville because you would not miss any practice sessions. Angola tipped her head, which Frankie had come to realize on the short ride down was a sign that something held his attention. They were facing each other. His eyes were on her now. She could not ignore the question and stride into the condo. Before answering, she rapidly tested herself to gauge how she felt about entering the competition now. Was there any remorse, any embarrassment? No answer came. So she spoke the blank facts, but could not accompany them with the truth of her feelings. I do not have any practice sessions this week. They're using the time to finalize the sponsors. I've entered Miss Island Glamour. She stared steadily at Angola, calm on the outside, while on the inside, dreading sight of his rejection. And even as she did that, the answer to her own internal gauge checked in. And she knew that if he didn't like that, it would make her sad, but she would recover. Angola nodded. Yes, I know that competition. It is quite competitive. Damilola edged on. Frankie is bored. That's why she's entering, to find something to do with herself. I think that your sister will probably win, not because that she's just so beautiful. She has accomplished everything that she has set her mind to. He was looking directly at Frankie, locking his eyes with hers, and Frankie felt her knees wobble. His car slipped out of the driveway in reverse and then turned on to Barbican Road. And then Frankie realized, with a pang of remorse, they had not exchanged phone numbers.